My name is Hazel. I have been socializing for many, many years now, about 8 years. I started off pretty much where many of you probably started off, or even more newbie than many of you, right? Because I had never done it before. 8 years ago, I wasn't rescuing yet. I was actually starting off just as a foster. And that's how I started this journey. I'll let you hear all about it in the theory video if you didn't get to see that. I won't bore you with that. I do want to emphasize, I do this all for the cats, right? I don't charge anything. This is free. It's all about disseminating the information so that people have what they need to know in order to be able to socialize, whether it's rescuers or fosters trying to get cats adopted. You know, TNR is really great, especially when you have a feeder who can come back to feed them and take care of them and give them shelters. But, you know, being in New York City before, I do also realize there's many instances where the cats cannot go back to where they came from. For example, my very first one that I had to socialize, she was in a Starbucks drive-through, so she couldn't really go back to where she came from. So in those instances, what do we do? And so it's really important that, you know, people start to dispel this myth that you can only do it if you're 8 weeks old or younger, that you can actually socialize even adults. Looking at my outline here. So just make sure, watch the theory videos. Remember, there's two of them. I couldn't upload a 25-minute video. I had to split it into two. So go to the Hazel and Juniper account, IGTV, watch the theory 1 and 2 videos. That will give you a lot of background as to why we're doing what we're doing. And then also the socialization saves lives hashtag. I think it's awesome. I hope everybody shares their experiences on that hashtag so that other people can see like how well this works. I do just ask though, so when I started the hashtag, no one else was using it. So that's why I was using it for like tips and techniques. Go to hashtag socialization saves lives. But because I keep pointing people to that hashtag for tips and techniques related to this method, I just ask that if anybody is using a method or a technique that's not part of this method, like petting with a stick, gloves, or any of that other stuff, burritoing, to just please not use that hashtag. There's plenty of other awesome socializing ferals hashtags out there that you can use. And it's just been confusing people. And I've been getting a couple of messages about that confusion. Okay, so one little thing I wanted to also share is I have recently started to pilot, we're like just starting, in fact, pilot programs to be able to work with rescue groups in order to create pretty much a SWAT team, right? Like a foster SWAT team where they'll have like 4 fosters who are their go-to people. Whenever they have difficult cats that need to be socialized, it goes to them to foster, but that these people are also equipped to be able to guide other fosters to get the knowledge, you know, so they start off with a less challenging cats and build up their skill set, because it's really important that we make this sustainable. I'm one person, I have limited hours in a day, in a week, and a lot of times rescues are sending their fosters my way, or fosters are coming to me directly, but I'm at a point soon, or probably now, I'm already starting to have to say no, unfortunately, because I just don't have any more time in the calendar. So I think a great way to do this is if rescue groups start building up this skill set in-house. And that's something that I definitely invest time in to work with you to train up people to be able to do this. I'm also thinking, you know, so we have a couple of people who've gone through Train the Trainer with me for the past few years. Granted, I didn't really have a set program yet at the time, and it's more about where I guide them with a specific cat, because I think it's really important that you actually have done this hands-on to be able to guide others. And then they observe me in a session, they kind of shadow me with a case. And then from there, they would then observe me, like they join me in a couple of cases and observe me doing it so that they, you know, just the second time around, they can, they shadow me and then I observe them. I observe them in the case that they're doing so that they're actually doing it, but then I can give them feedback on what they're doing. So that's been working well, a little slow because it just takes a lot of time, I think, to make sure they get the experience. But I'm hoping to make that available, even if you're not part of like a full-fledged organization, that maybe we can make this a little bit more scalable by creating programs like I would do for a rescue group, but make kind of like an open enrollment thing where people can join, like, hey, I'm starting up a new one, who wants to join? And we go from there. What's just really important is that you just have a calm and patient energy. And if you do, then you'll be able to guide others. So maybe more info to come on that once I have something ready. And Lauren's going to talk a little bit about her experience with that later on. Okay, so and again, also those programs, like I know everybody keeps asking me like, how much do you charge, right? I know it probably sounds like a spiel that I'm trying to sell like a course or a package. Honestly, it's all free. I never want to charge because I just want everybody to sign up, learn it, and save more cats. Okay, so for the agenda today, I'm going to go over the roadmap, and then Lauren's going to talk about her experience socializing Cola, working with me. I think because some of you may not have used this method before, she'll give you a flavor of what to expect. And she's also gone through the train the trainer, so she can talk a little bit about that as well. And then at the very end, we're going to save some time for Q&A. So the roadmap, a lot of people have mentioned, hey, I love the individual things that you've been posting, but I just don't know what order to do it in, right? And I really just been posting whatever I'm working on at the time with a cat. So it's kind of all over the place. But that's why we're here today for this webinar. All right, let me walk you through. Now, I'm going to do a very quickie on the pillars, in case for those of you who haven't had a chance to watch the theory, because it'll explain why we do the roadmap the way we do it. The first pillar is we have what are our goals, right? Our goal is to gain the trust of the cat. That's the most important thing. And for some cats, we will be also building up the confidence. The second pillar is, how do we do it? We always do it by luring and distracting the cat. So what's the first step? Well, the first step when the cat first arrives, and a lot of times we do this when the cat first arrives from outside, but even if the cat moves from one foster home to the other before the cat's been fully socialized, I still do step 0, which is the reset. And this is important because it really gives the cat time to decompress. By leaving them alone, they get a chance to really observe us and start to feel a little bit safer and not be completely tense all the time. And that's when they'd be ready to start engaging. You can find more information about the reset. I do have a IGTV post on it, and it kind of talks through all the details. So what's step 1, right? After we've gone through the reset, step 1 is we do the deep breaths and slow blinks. And if the cat is in a playpen, when we do the reset, we're doing the reset outside of the playpen. When we do the deep breaths and slow blinks, we can start it outside the playpen if we think the cat is too scared still, or if you're worried the cat might hurt you, because there are times when we have super scared cats. I know I don't like to use the word aggressive so much, but they're just so scared that they're also using the fight mode, right? Maybe they might lunge, swipe, things like that. So if there's concerns about that, I always want people to stay safe. And I want you to do the slow blinks and deep breaths outside of the playpen until the cat starts to become calm. And you will notice a difference, and you'll have a sense of when it's time to be able to come into the playpen. If anyone is ever working with a cat that's so super difficult and scary, and you're not sure about your safety, then message me or maybe one of the other people who are trainers, and maybe can watch you in a video chat with a cat to assess if the cat might be ready for you to step in or not. I want everyone to stay safe, but otherwise, use your judgment. You can get a good sense. So you would do the deep breaths and slow blinks. You could start it outside, or you may jump right in, but definitely we want to do some of that deep breaths and slow blinks while we're inside the playpen. I talk about it in the IGTV as well. It's really important to watch that one, because about 99% of the people I work with, we have to tweak how they slow blink. everybody's typical understanding of what a slow blink is different from how I think of slow blinking. So definitely watch the IGTV and practice, and you will start to notice a difference. Step 2 is all about having the cat touch you. We will not touch the cat or even try to pet the cat or reach for the cat for the first 2 to 3 weeks. It's really important to hold off. I know it's really hard because you just want to touch the cat. Cat's so cute. What happens sometimes is the cat is so scared that the cat might tolerate the petting if you insist on doing it too soon. But if you really look at the body language of the cat, what happens is the cat's just so scared that the cat's frozen. So it's really important to not touch the cat. Like, I'd rather err on the side of waiting too long to touch the cat than too early. So in the beginning, we want the cat to touch us, and we do the legs extended. I'll have to create some videos on it, but you can see some posts I have on the Instagram account as well, where I have my legs out in front of me. So your body's like an L shape. And then we start leading the cat to our shins, or our ankles and our shins, because that's the lowest point, with the treat. And then we also use a toy to lead the cat towards us. And the goal in the beginning is just to have the cat jump back and forth over your legs. And then over time, as the cat gets comfortable with that, we'll get the cat to start spending time on our legs, putting paws on us. Again, I'll try to put together a tutorial for that. But in the meantime, scroll. If you see my legs out in front of me in any post I have, I'm probably doing the legs extended one. The next step. Okay, so the next step is the petting sequence. Now, if the cat's been in a playpen, and you really, really need the cat to come out because the beginning stage took so long and we're feeling really bad. I always tell people the cat's in the playpen from 1 to 4 weeks. And if the cat's just been there way too long, sometimes I'll rush it. So the minimum requirement that I have to let the cat out of the playpen is that the cat will consistently come to me when I have treats or when I have the toy. If the cat consistently comes to you, that's the minimum, and you can start letting the cat out of the playpen. If it's possible to just extend it just that 1 or 2 more weeks, usually it's only even 1 week. My preference is to get the cat into the petting sequence and be able to completely pet the cat with treats before I let the cat out of the playpen. It just makes everything else much more smoother after that. Something to keep in mind when the cat comes out of the playpen. I'll try it again to make a video on the thought process I have in order to how to do it. But when you let the cat out of the playpen, the cat will regress. It happens every time, so do not feel discouraged. The cat will regress, and so what we have to do is we have to hang back, right? First, give the cat a day or two to just, sit down on the floor, offer some treats, let them come near you. And then you repeat again, bringing the cat across the shin. If the cat, because by that stage, the cat's coming right up to your thighs and hanging out. Don't expect that right away. You bring them to your shin first and you just build up again. You'll find that by easing back when the cat first comes out of the playpen, that you're going to have the cat bounce back within a couple days, usually like 3 days, worst case, like 5 days. So then we do the petting sequence. So that's step 3. And the petting sequence is with treats. I don't have a IGTV of it yet, but you can see it in the highlights of my story. So go to the highlights. There's one called petting sequence, and it walks you through exactly what to do with the petting sequence. And this is always with treats. You could do it. Sometimes when I work with people, I have them do it while the cat's on their lap. Sometimes you do it when the cat's in front of you. If the cat is okay with you doing it with your legs extended with the cat on your lap, that's great, because you're kind of doing double duty with the socialization sessions. But if the cat's hesitant with the petting sequence, bring the cat in front of you so that they're not touching you at the moment. Every time we nudge the cat on one front, we usually ease back on the other front just to balance it out so it's not super scary. The petting sequence is usually it can take a whole week to get through the whole sequence. So even though you see it like step, 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 you won't necessarily do all of them in one session, right? The cat needs time to get used to each step. Sometimes it, for super scared cats who are adults, it may take a week and a half, and that's completely normal. You do not want to rush it. It's really important. The parts where you just have your hand next to the face, just touching the face and not moving your hand, those are so important to get really, really nailed down that the cat is super comfortable with it. Because if you rush past that step and you just want to go on and pet the cat, it's shaky ground, and you're going to have a harder time when we get to the petting without treats later on. The next step, step 4. Okay, so again, just a reminder, my preference is to let the cat out of the playpen when we get through the petting sequence, at least until the point where I'm able to just very lightly pet with the palm of my hand. Okay, so step 4 is legs crossed. So whenever I talk about lap work, I'm referring to the legs extended and legs crossed. 2 parts to legs crossed. The very first time you introduce the crossed legs, you have the cat come from your front, and you have them come over your crossed ankles, because that's the lowest point of the body. And by doing that, you're bringing your hand to your hip, and they're going to only be able to get half their body onto you unless it's a kitten, right? And that's just the nature of how long our lap is. So we do that though, because it's less scary for the cat. Again, the ankles are a low point. Then when the cat's consistently doing that and putting half their body on us and coming all the way to our hip, we can now progress the cat to the second part of legs crossed, which is bringing the cat around to our one hip and across our lap. So you're really taking the treat and going from hip to hip. And all of these steps where we're luring the cat onto our legs, onto our lap, and even the petting sequence, that's where the wet treats is really important. I'm going to talk about where we use dry treats later on. And the thing to remember too, even though you had done the petting sequence before you switched to legs crossed, when you start legs crossed, the ankle as well as across, you have to first start it without touching the cat at all. Don't pet, because again, we're nudging the cat on one front, so we have to ease back on the other front, right? So when you first start ankles, don't touch the cat, don't pet the cat. And then as the cat gets comfortable with the ankles, you can reintroduce the petting again. And then once the cat's comfortable with that, do side to side, but don't touch the cat. Once the cat's comfortable coming onto your lap and hanging out, then you can start the petting sequence or reintroduce the petting sequence again. The going across the lap is really the foundation of turning this cat into a lap cat or a beside you cat. That is the key. And it may take time. Initially, the cat's going to like hop over. And then after that, the cat's going to like have its front paws out and back paws out, so that the cat's straddling with 2 paws on one thigh, 2 paws on the other thigh. But you just want to keep extending that treat far enough to the hip to get the butt into the hole of your lap. I will work on creating a tutorial on this as well, so you could see that in more detail. That's the 4th step. The thing you could do at this phase while you're working on this lap work is you can start what I call the Paw Touch. And this is to prepare the cat for a future step where we're going to do nail clipping. And so this is where we just lightly, just while the cat, always, while the cat is eating the treat, you can like lightly touch the paw of the cat with one finger. And if the cat's comfortable with that, you can lightly stroke the top of the paw with the finger. And there's just all these steps, but you can start all this at this point when you're doing this side to side lap work. The next step is step 5. That's the approach. Now, because the cat is out of the playpen, we can work on approach, right? And a whole thing about approach is anyone who wants to adopt a cat doesn't want a cat that runs away from them. And so what happens is every time we come into the room or as we're walking in the direction of the cat, there's these things that we do offering the cat dry treats as we're walking sideways toward the cat in order to get the cat used to us coming in his or her direction. I will try to also create another video explaining how to do the approach, but this has a couple of steps to it. First, we do it with treats, then we introduce doing it without treats. And you're going to see that approach is something now from this point forward, we're going to keep doing all the way until we're done socializing, because it's going to happen in parallel while we're doing all the other stuff like the petting stuff. And then they're going to converge later on so that we'll approach the cat and be able to pet the cat. The 6th step is petting without treats. Now the cat's comfortable on your lap, able to get petted all the time, but always while licking treats. So up until this point, you know, as tempting as it is, as cute as the cat is, do not pet the cat, do not touch the cat unless you've got treats in your hand while they're licking. At this point, at step 6, this is where we start introducing petting the cat without any treats. So you would, usually I'll do it in conjunction with lap work. So again, we're continuing to reinforce turning this cat into a lap cat or beside you cat while we're doing all these future steps. So as we're bringing the cat up and we're doing, you know, the petting, at this point, the cat can be pet with the palm of the hand. We will switch now back to the back of the hand petting. And I'll create, you know, when I create the video, a true video tutorial about petting sequence, I'll explain like why I use the back versus the palm of the hand. But we'll switch backwards one step. Again, nudge the cat, pull back on another place, right? Give the cat treats. We're going to very, very lightly pet with the back of the hand, nice and slow. And then a fraction of a second, we're going to cover the treat while we're petting. Fraction of a second, and then offer it. Fraction of a second, offer it while we're petting. And what's going to happen is we're going to increase the amount of time that we're hiding the treat. I'll try to create a video so that will make a lot more sense and with a lot more detail. The thing to remember, I always warn people, this step 6 of petting without treats is the part that will take the longest out of all of the steps. The whole process does not take that long, but out of all of them, you know, everything moves by faster. This is going to just feel really long and you will get discouraged. I guarantee it. Just keep going, right? If you watch a theory video, I talk about how it's just a matter of the cat observing, but the cat will get there. And so just keep at it. You get discouraged. Even I get discouraged once in a while, and I know this, right? So it's just keep trying. You're going to keep withholding. What I have found when I work with people on videos, though, is they don't realize that they can actually hide the treat longer. And they think they're stuck because they don't realize they can hide the treat longer. So if you are stuck, extend covering the treat just for a fraction of a second. And you might find that the cat can actually hold out a little bit longer than you think. Then the last step, step 7, is clipping nails. Honestly, I bet most people do not even make sure the cat's nails can get clipped before the cat gets adopted. And I used to not really think about that either before. However, recently I've started to make it part of one of my required steps before I adopt out a cat, that the cat gets used to getting his or her nails clipped, and then I can instruct the adopter and walk them through how to do it as well. So that's the last step. So the last 2 steps are all optional. You do not have to do this. To me, once you're at step 7, clipping the nails, the cat's done. The cat's ready to go and find a forever home. But let's say the cat's waiting for to get adopted, right? Because you've posted the cat, but maybe haven't found the right home yet. If the cat's just waiting around, why not? So I work on carrying, which is step 8, and in parallel, 8A and 8B, I guess, there's clicker training. So that's just because it's fun and it creates a nice bond. Clicker training is excellent for cats who need to build up their confidence. Very, very good for that. But also clicker training is very good for cats who are super smart and bored, and so sometimes become mischievous. So those are the other 2 optional steps, the carry and the clicker training. I'm going to hand it over to Lauren now, and she's going to speak a bit about her experience.
I want to show everybody Cola now because she happens to be right on my desk. Hello.
Yeah. As Cola's the cat she worked with, and the awesome thing is Cola even pushed her in the previous apartment. Cola pushed her cat tree right up to Lauren's desk because she wanted to be closer to her, which I thought was so cute. Okay.
Yeah, that was towards the kind of like that moment where like she just started progressing really quickly. She was between 6 to 8 months. That's the vet kind of gave a guess. So she's now between 10 to 12 months. And when I got her, she was coming, I think maybe I would describe her as semi-feral because she was born indoors, but it was a hoarding situation and it was never touched. So she was used to being indoors, but refused to be touched, was very averse to that, definitely needed a lot of work. Got her really early November. And, I was doing traditional, theory, which is kind of like, it's called the quote unquote forced love approach. And so I was petting her while she was eating, but I felt really discouraged and stuck because I got to the point where she would let me pet her while she was eating, but never when she wasn't. And actually it was getting worse. It was like she was getting more and more averse to my touch when she wasn't eating. And that's kind of the opposite direction. And I just felt like I didn't know what to do. And I didn't know what I was doing wrong. And I knew she had potential because I could like see it in her when I first got her, that she definitely had a lot of potential. So at the point where I found you, I was recommended to you from someone in my group. And she was, basically stuck, where I didn't understand why I could touch her with food, but like no other way. And I didn't know how to progress. The process for me was, I really appreciated all of the kind of theory that you gave at the top, because it really made a lot of sense. It felt like going from something that like wasn't working to something that like made a lot of sense from the perspective of the cat. And it felt like we were always making incremental progress, because with the approach I was taking before, I just never felt like I knew if I was doing it right, or I also didn't feel like it was working. But with this, even though it was slow to start, because you start slow, it was easy, because you're just kind of like very methodically, taking it step by step. And I will say it was stunning how she transformed at the moment that she did. So something that you talk about is that sometimes they just kind of, cats take a little bit of time to process. So it can seem like they're not progressing very quickly. For Cola, it wasn't that she was stuck at any point, but she was just kind of progressing slowly. And then we took a break over the holidays where she stayed with somebody else. And when I got back, she just like skyrocketed. She went from being like in the middle of the petting sequence and just sort of like slowly incrementally progressing to purring, which she had never done before, pushing her cat tree over to my desk and hopping up next to me, wanting to be pet even without treats. It just like all of a sudden transformed. And I'm not saying that every cat is like that, but I was really stunned and it was really amazing.
And something to note is, like what Lauren was saying, everything feels slow. Honestly, I always think this felt really long, right? And whenever I do video chats with people, I make it a point to remind them when we get to whatever stage we're at, I remind them, oh, do you remember we only started talking 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Or we only started talking 5 weeks ago and the cat's almost done. Like it feels like it's taking forever because the steps are so easy and so slow. But if you mark the calendar on when you start this process, you're going to see that it probably is a lot faster than you realized. And a lot of times in like 5 weeks, we're pretty far.
Yeah. Something that I had wanted to say that I forgot to say at first is that before I talked to you, Hazel, other people that I was like asking for advice were suggesting that maybe this is just how she is. And maybe we should just adopt her out and she's never going to be a cat who wants to be pet. And that was also something that was like a discouraging thought for me. And I'm really glad that I sort of like found this approach, because she obviously had potential to be a cat who's fully socialized. And so, yeah, it was only a month in that I reached out to you. So we started in like late November, early December, and then took 6 weeks off between like Christmas and late January. And then within 3 days of coming back. So I would say like in total, my time with like the time was like 3 to 4 months, but my time with her was only like 2 to 3.
Share a little bit about how I guess maybe to inspire people who might want to guide others, how that experience has been like so far.
Oh yeah. So when I saw how much this helped with Cola, I started letting my rescue group know, just my own experience. Like, hey, there's other methods out there. If you guys want advice, check this out. And pretty quickly, I started becoming like a go-to person in my group Slack of like, oh, I'm having problems with this cat, or this person's having an issue. Like, Lauren, what's your thought? Like, Lauren, can you help this person? And I went from like feeling like I didn't know anything and I was the student to suddenly helping others. And it's been really gratifying, because even before I was fully trained, I felt like I could help people. And it really was helping people with cats that they were struggling with. And doing the training has been great too, because I have been so impressed and stunned with like how well this works, that I want to help other people do it, because I see how much need there is in the world of rescue. Time is an issue, resources are an issue, finding fosters is an issue. Like you're always trying to save as many cats as you can. And so I think that like as many people that can know this method, I think will be really beneficial, as a whole. So, and your trained trainers have been helping me as well. I've actually started taking on cases before I'm fully done because I'm ready to start helping. And then like Alina, who's a trainer, has been helping me, and she's been wonderful as a help too. So, it's a great community.
Right. To me, it's the more people who know this, who can then guide others. This is not about me. It's beyond me. Over the years, like the 8 years, people kept sending their fosters, or the fosters would reach out to me, and I'd help them one-on-one. But I was like, this is not helping as many cats as it can be. Plus, it's, I have a limit as to how many cases I can take at any point in time. So I'm super, super excited. That's what I'm most excited about, being able to have people who can go through training to be able to guide others.
But I will just touch on the clicker training. I also sort of towards the end of this also started doing that. And because Cola is like a really smart cat who gets mischievous and bored, and that also I think helped kind of strengthen the bond a little bit while we were doing the work. So I thought that was really useful.
The clicker training, by the way, it is, just to Lauren's point, it is so the kind of bond you create with a cat when you socialize a cat is amazing. And then clicker training is a whole nother level of bond, like literally 5 minutes a day, because you can't do more than a 5-minute session for clicker training. But the investment that you make and the bond you create with a cat. So anyone who's an adopter already, and you just want to work with your own cat, please consider this at the tail end. And anyone who has a cat that they start clicker training, encourage your adopters to continue it, because it's just going to make them so happy. I'm going to make a plug just because I do like that it comes as a bundle. Cat School, it's cat.school. In Instagram, she sells a bundle of her online course, a booklet, and the type of clicker target stick combo that I like. And it's really nice because it's super easy. You kind of just go through step by step. I always tell people I'm not a behaviorist. I don't pretend to be one. I specialize in the human cat bond only, and specifically socialization. And then also I am not an expert in clicker training. I probably only know like the tip of the iceberg basics. So if you really want to dive into that more, definitely check out the pros.
What to do if there's a disruption, like a loud noise or a new thing that she didn't know the cat would react to. She wants to know if she should reset or just give it some time and continue. And I don't know if she means during a session or just like randomly throughout the day.
Yeah, it depends on what the scenario was and what was that disruption. But I'm assuming, want to just make a scenario that we can work with. It wasn't during a session, but in the middle of the day, let's say. So I had a cat who I was helping, and I guess he jumped on top of the TV and the TV fell down. So that was really, really scary. What I would do is I would do a little bit of a reset. You don't need to do a whole week. I would give the cat like a couple days reset, 2 days, 3 days maybe, where you sit sideways, read a book, but then at the same time, you're tossing treats to the cat. You might, play with the wand toy on the side, depending on what stage you're already at, right? If the cat's already engaged with the toy and everything, play with the wand toy, the cat may or may not engage, but you're always just making it, it's kind of like you're offering up the cat to come over to you if they want to engage, but you're not paying attention to the cat. So that if the cat is still scared, you're giving the cat the space he or she needs.
If the introduction of resident cats changes this whole process.
Assuming your cats are known to be cat friendly, and we're going to assume that at a minimum, we do not think that the cat you're socializing is not cat friendly. You of course, always have to make sure to follow proper medical protocols. When in the rescue world, we have to make sure the cat's been snap tested, that just black light for ringworm, just all that good stuff to make sure your resident cats stay safe. And then I like to, if there are resident cats who are friendly and the socialized cat, doesn't hate other cats, then I like to put the playpen in the main area of the home, right? Just as I mentioned in the theory, in the living room, because oftentimes having exposure to seeing you interact with the resident cats helps the cat you're socializing. In fact, during the reset period, I ask people to sit on the floor in front of the playpen, play with your own cat, give lots of cuddles, give lots of treats, just demonstrate to the cat watching how happy your cat is doing all this. It usually helps bring them out of their shell. I've had situations too where the cat was a little bit stuck, so I started bringing in the resident cat more and more. just to get the cat out of their shell. And that worked very, very well. So your cat-friendly resident cat actually makes you gives you yet one more powerful tool to be able to socialize. The key though is, like, if your cat's scared of if your resident cat's scared of the cat, then you want to just give them that space. And I even use playpens, in fact, when I introduce cats. So if someone's adopting a cat from me and they have a resident cat, I start off the cat that they're adopting in a large playpen in order to give them that space, but exposure to each other in a way we can control a lot better than keeping a cat in a separate room with the door closed. Because when you jump from door closed to door open, it's such a big jump. Sometimes it's very difficult for them, but with a playpen, we can make it a lot more gradual. Some resident cats jump onto the playpen. They like to just keep doing that, which terrorizes the cat being rescued. I am trying to figure out a solution.
Are you intending for these webinars to sort of equip people to kind of go and utilize this method on their own? Or is it more about an introduction and having them like reach out to someone to get trained or be coached after this webinar?
Yeah, so I hope that this is information you can do on your own. If you feel you're getting stuck or you really don't know what to do, or you have a very challenging case, reach out for help. And honestly, anyone who reaches out for help, I do my best to. Everyone's always surprised that I'm responding, but I do my best to try to help. So, and now we've got not just me, but we've got Laura and Melina, Hannah, who can help as well. But the goal is that this is something that can be widely distributed and you can start doing it on your own. Now, I know right now it's a little bit hard. You kind of have to search the Socialization Saves Lives hashtag, but look for my posts or dig through my posts on my Instagram account to find specific things. Definitely check the stories. If there's anything that's very useful, I try to put it in the story highlights. But over time, what I want to do is to create proper tutorials and put those in IGTV. Then the combination of the webinars plus the tutorials together should be enough to really guide you. I can use the webinars to deep dive into specific things, but maybe what I'll try to do is I'll post a tutorial about something and then follow up with a webinar so that I can spend the webinar just briefly talking about it, but point you to the actual tutorial video for all the details. And we can use the webinars maybe as Q&A troubleshooting to be able to help people with their specific situation.
How do you get in? How do you get the cat into the playpen without the cat jumping out while you're trying to get the cat in there?
I guess depends where the cat came from. Okay, so came from as in where was the cat 2 seconds prior to having to go in the playpen? I find the easiest way, and in case anyone has not seen the playpens I use, definitely check my posts. But these are doggy playpens that have a zipper top. They're not the human baby playpens, so that they can't jump out once they're inside. But I find the best way to get the cat into playpen is to get the cat into a carrier and then put the cat into the playpen. So for example, if the cat came from a vet visit, the ASPCA or wherever it be, I usually put the cat straight into the playpen after that because they're already in a carrier anyway. And then what you do is I don't put the food and water in because if they do decide to run around, I don't want them to knock it over. I'll just have a cat cave. I always start with a cat cave, give them a place to hide. I have a cat cave and I open the carrier right so that the opening of the carrier is right in front of the mouth of the cat cave. So they just almost like, I'm trying to remember if anything else has happened, but like 99% of the time, the cat walks straight from the carrier into the cat cave and hides in there. And then I take the carrier out, I pop in the litter box and the food and water. If the cat's super freaked out, I might wait an hour before I put the litter box and food and water in there.
When you're actually opening the playpen to get in and out, do you ever find that the cat tries to jump out?
Okay, got it. So in the beginning, the cat may try to come out, and especially if you're not sure yet. So I do unzip the playpen just a little bit, just for me to slide in. I always come in from the top. Now there's some instances where you might have bought the really big playpen, like the 36-inch height. I usually try for the 24-inch height ones. But the 36-inch height, to climb in, you need to kind of hold somebody's hand to steady you as to climb in from the top. But those you could come in from the side. I think I'm starting to think like that might be a little bit scary for the cat, but the 24-inch ones for sure. I climb in from the top. I put one leg in, like especially the very first time. I ask people put one leg in, wait, make sure the cat's calm, then put the other leg in, wait, and then sit down. I have people take whatever materials that they need with them, place it into the playpen before they even step in. And the reason why I do one leg at a time is you kind of test the waters, right? So if you put one leg in and the cat's like flipping out and might come at you, it's faster to get one leg out than to like hop your whole body out. But honestly, every time I've worked with someone, when I felt the cat was ready for you to step in, we've never had a problem with getting into the playpen. So, but what's important is that you're not scared, right? If you feel afraid to get into that playpen, do not go in that playpen. The cat will feel what you feel. And so if you're not ready, then you have to wait a little bit longer. And it's really just realize you're extending the time, but because you have to get yourself to feel comfortable before you can move on to the next step with the cat. But yeah, so sorry, back to Elaine's question. When you unzip it and you kind of like, it's like sliding vertically down. In the beginning, I'll actually have the zipper. So you have to think about where you put the cat cave so that it's in the opposite side of the zipper opening so that you can come down at the zipper level and you're going to be on the completely opposite side of the playpen as the cat. I take out the litter, the food and water, and then I'm going to sit down. And in the very, very beginning, I actually zipper it around me here. And I may do some of the slow blinking sideways from through the mesh. This is also why I don't like to buy the playpens that are half solid, half mesh, because it kind of messes with this step. I could do it through the mesh sometimes. I don't love doing that always. But you do it for a little bit and then later, like within a day or two, I'll like take the mesh and put it over my head. So it's only 2 feet. So it is a little bit uncomfortable, but I'll kind of like tilt my head a little bit when I do my slow blinks. But I usually find that soon after, by the end of the first week, I can already start opening that zipper bigger. And definitely when we're doing, what's the other step here? The latter part of legs extended. And definitely by the time we're hitting petting sequence, I actually completely unzip the playpen and just have it hanging with only, 3 inches attached. And the cat never tries to jump out. Paloma, who's been helping me, she worked with Esperanza, who's an amazing cat. And she is helping like write up some of this stuff into a PDF file. So ultimately it would be awesome to have like a PDF file with like bulleted outlines so that if you've watched the videos, but you kind of forgot, you can refer back to this as a quickie reminder and only have to go watch the video again if you need to see some nuance. To that point, I really think it's important that people watch the videos and not only read the outline, because this is a very visual thing, right? I work with a lot of people who they were stuck. They tell me, oh, I'm stuck at the step. And I literally move their hand 2 inches and all of a sudden it starts working again. And it is very nuanced. So it's important to just, keep an eye on that. Just be very conscious of how you're doing it, watching the video. The thing that I remind people over and over again on a call in our video chats is keep the hand low, keep the hand low, keep the hand low. We have a tendency to raise our hand. And you'll hear about this more in some future tutorials, but you don't want the hand at eye level, right? Because this is what they see and that's a bit scary. You really want the hand at chin level or below, really below the chin so that this is what they see when it's coming towards them. Less scary than this. But a lot of times people don't realize that their hand is actually eye level. They think it's low. So I tell people, graze your knuckles, because usually we're working palm up. And so I tell people, graze your knuckles along your legs or along the floor, and that will guarantee your hand is nice and low.
If you find that cats regress when they go into their forever homes, and how much education you need to do with their adopters.
Yeah. So that's excellent question, because it's a matter of follow through. The way I do it, because I also rescue myself through Hopewell Rescue, which is just me and my husband. It's a very small rescue group. And so what I do is when I have the cats go to adopter, I always ask the adopter, if it's a cat who got socialized, are you okay if the cat is going to take about 3 weeks to acclimate to the new home? If the adopter's like, no, not really, I'd really love a cat who's already social to begin with, then this is not the right home for this cat, right? They do need a very specific kind of adopter, but honestly, they don't need like, when I say a specific kind of adopter, all I really mean is a patient adopter, right? No Elmiras out there. I have a lot of adopters who are brand new cat people. They've never had a cat before, and it works excellent with them too. You do not have to pick someone who's had a cat before. So they're okay with the cat taking 3 weeks to acclimate. And then I tend to, each group is their own process, but I tend to do a 1 month trial. Honestly, I've been doing it because of COVID, but it's been working so well. I'll do it even after we can, even if we can start seeing each other in person. So I like to do the video meet and greets for the cats who needed socialization because they're affectionate, but not social. So that means they're scared of strangers, but they're super loving with the people they know. So if you had the adopters come meet the cat in person, all they're going to see is the cat hidden under the dresser, under the bed. Not really very, they don't really get a good sense of what the cat's like. I find the video meet and greets are excellent because you could really show them what the cat's personality is like now. And I'll even pull out a treat and show them like some of the stuff that I tend to do with the cat to give them an idea of maybe things they're going to be doing the first few weeks. Then I do a 1 month trial adoption because it really takes, oftentimes by the second week, we're done. But I like to give it a month so that the people don't feel rushed. So I give it a 1 month trial adoption, to give the adopter the comfort that, hey, if it doesn't work out, because this cat does take time to acclimate to the new home, they don't feel pressured to make it work right away. And then they start doing things maybe you don't want to, like force love. So we do the trial, but also because during the trial is when I do chats with them. So I say, okay, what we'll do is during the adoption trial of 1 month, we'll chat once a week. I'll give them instructions when I first drop off the cat, what to do that first few days and maybe that first week. And then once a week, we have a quick video chat touch point where I show them the next step in the process. And honestly, do not let anyone tell you that it's not worth your time to socialize a cat because they have to rebond with the adopter anyway. That's BS. I have found time and time and time again, when I spend the time to socialize a cat, when they go to the next person, to the adopter, hopefully, they cycle through all the steps so quickly. You have them go through every step, right? So what are we talking about? 7 steps. But they go through it so fast, like literally a day, 2 days, 3 days, that's it. So by the end of the second week, you're already at they're cuddling and purring in the lap, or right next to the adopter. But it is very important, in order to ensure that happens, that the adopter is willing to do video chats with you and you guide them to ensure it. Because if the adopter starts to like scare the cat by like immediately like trying to pet and kind of getting all over the cat, I think the cat will regress and not bounce back. But just last note on that is, all the adopters I've had, I do, carefully match them with the cats to make sure the cat's the perfect cat for them. But all the adopters that I've had have been very appreciative of being able to have these video chats. I try not to make it onerous. So, it's, hey, we'll do it quickly. But after the cat's already at that stage, I don't insist on more video chats until the end of the adoption trial. I'll just ask them, do you have any questions? Do you want to hop on a chat? If not, we don't have to have a chat. That's okay.
Jennifer would like to know, what's the oldest cat that you have successfully socialized?
The oldest, 14 years old.
So it's really any age.
Yeah, I think any age. I mean, if anyone, has a 20-year-old, please let me know and let's see how we can make it work. But yeah, and 14, and keep in mind, even I was fostering him before I started rescuing him, before I had this wealth of knowledge. And so it was in the very, very early stages. So I kind of didn't have this down pat. Honestly, I wish I knew all this back then with him. And the first time I met him, he like got me, because obviously I wasn't knowledgeable back then, but he arrived, we let him out, he was walking around in the room, and he scratched me and his nail got stuck in my arm. So I had to like take his paw and pry it out. But yeah, and then at the end, he was really sweet. So I think some of the misconception out there is people think that the cats I work with start off like they're not aggressive. They're just a little bit shy. And that's why I can get them to that stage. But honestly, I have some pretty rough cats. I just don't post the scary stuff because these cats will get posted on my account for adoption too. And, the way the cat started is not who people are adopting. I swear it is not the same cat just hidden inside. That cat is gone. When you were done socializing, that cat is not there anymore. It was just the fear that was causing it. And so I try not to post the super scary ones because I don't want to turn people off from adopting this cat thinking, but that's what the cat is. I'm like, no, the cat is who the cat is today. And you never see any bit of that old version of the cat ever again. Once the cat socializes and trusts you.
Karen wants to know what to do with the playpen once they come out. So she asked, do they still have access to chill and sleep and do the litter box?
Yeah, so I'll give the quickie overview, but I did want to try to just make that a full tutorial. So when I open the playpen, so once you open the playpen, you're going to keep the playpen out there for about 5 more days. I unzip the door and I roll it up, and there's Velcro, so you can leave the door permanently open. I only unzip one door. I keep the back one closed. And just because you don't want like maybe a resident cat coming in from behind and scaring them if they're in there. So one door open, I leave everything inside. I don't touch anything. I don't coax the cat out or anything. I just leave it there and walk away. Let the cat come out on his or her own whenever he or she's ready. Similar to how you let a cat out of a bedroom or a bathroom in the traditional sense. And then after 2 days of that, and the cat starting to come out, but using the playpen as home base, I will then take out the food bowls, right, and put it right next to the playpen. And then the day after that, I'll move the food bowl further away, and then I can take out the litter box and put that next to the playpen. Then the day after, I put the food bowls where they're going to end up, and then I move the litter box further out. Then I'll pull out the bed right next to the playpen, and everything now goes to the final stage, and then I can close up the playpen usually after 5 days or so. Something to keep in mind though, if you have a resident cat, you do have to do this a little bit more slowly because you're going to unzip and let the cat out, but only during supervised times, and keep it nice and short. I keep it at like 5 minutes in the very beginning. And the whole time the cat is out there, you are playing with both cats, giving both cats lots of treats, really making sure they're creating that positive association and being distracted. Then you get the cat back into the playpen, which at that stage, you can lure them in with a toy or a treat, right? You don't have to literally carry them and put them in. You could just have the toy in there, a treat, the cat will go back inside, zip it up. You do this a couple times a day just to give them small, short interactions. And then you lengthen the interaction time between the two cats to the point where you're comfortable now to just have it open and out all day, as long as you're around. And then at some point, you'll be comfortable leaving it open even at night. And then you can close up the playpen and put it away. I just want to make sure everyone's safe.
Yeah. Daniela has a 3-month-old kitten, and she's working on runaway prevention using dry treats, but he doesn't like temptation treats. And she's wondering if you have dry treat recommendations for picky kittens.
Okay. I guess the first thing is I just want to make sure that this kitten is at the stage of being able to like crawl all over you and hopefully start being able to pet the kitten, doing the petting sequence soon. And I just want to mention something. Even though the traditional approach can work with kittens that young, I find that if you use this approach, they fly faster. Honestly, 3-month-old kittens, we're talking like 2 weeks, 3 weeks max. I mean, they're so easy. I love those kittens. I just never have them. I always get the hard cases. In terms of the approach, just make sure the kitten's comfortable being all over your body though, right? And then once that's done, then you can do the approach thing. If the kitten doesn't like temptations, Lauren, you turned me on to that Blue Buffalo Wilderness.
So Blue Buffalo and Blue Wilderness are 2 different brands, which I recently discovered. And that's why sometimes it's confusing. So yeah, I have found that Blue Wilderness has these little square soft treats that Cola loved. I think they're chicken and salmon flavored, and it's Blue Wilderness.
Yeah, and there's even one that looks like Temptations. That's also from Blue Wilderness. That
they also have crunchy ones.
Since you told me, the crunchy one. And then another thing to consider are the freeze dried treats. So the freeze dried chicken, I only like to use Halo brand. The Pure Bites tend to be like rock hard. So the Halo brand are very big, so you have to break those up because they're also made for dogs. But a lot of kittens like those and cats. The other one you could try is if they prefer seafood is Pure Bites does sell little mini freeze-dried shrimp that you can use as well. The thing is, I just try to keep it to dry. Honestly, you could use wet treats for the approach. I just make it dry because it's very neat and easy for you. It's really for your benefit so that you can do it over and over again throughout the day. And make sure as you're approaching the kitten, right? Like you're initially always offering it walking side, approaching the kitten sideways. And in the beginning, you can't get close enough. You might have to kind of stop nearby and gently toss it to the kitten. And not be able to hold it under the kitten's mouth for the kitten to eat it. One thing, whenever I say toss the treat, I do not like throw the treat like bombs are coming down at the cat. I like to think of it as like skipping stones. There's more of a sideways toss or like a frisbee toss, I guess. Maybe a better analogy.
Jennifer and Stacy wanted to know if like a male fixed cat that you're bringing into the playpen would spray because of other animals in the house. And, I said, if he's fixed, he probably won't spray, but I just wanted to see if you had a thought.
Yeah, he probably won't spray unless, can you ask if he's shown that he's sprayed in a crate or something that's making her feel he's going to spray?
Well, he's just peed on a lot of the towels that we've given him. Like in his bed, he'll pee on the towel after he's been laying in it for a while, and then he won't use the bed anymore.
Okay. And when was he fixed? When was he
about almost 2 weeks ago, 1.5 weeks ago.
2 weeks. Okay. So he should be over it from being neutered perspective. So what I would do is when I have cats who are peeing in places they shouldn't be peeing, I first try to figure it out before I move the cat to the playpen. And so the first thing I try to use the Dr. Elsie's Cats Attract clay litter. And I've had really, really good success with almost all the cats with that. I have had some male cats when they first come in from outside, they just don't know or what, but do that and make sure you're using a very good enzymatic cleaner. I love Back Out, BAC-OUT. I'm sure there are other good brands out there. I have some mixed reviews from people on Nature's Miracle, so don't use that one, but make sure you get a good enzymatic cleaner to like scrub stuff down, like any hard surfaces. And then if you do wash the blanket and the towels and the bed, I like pour Back Out into the bleach container of the washing machine so that I also make sure to get any smell out of there. Because as you know, probably they will return to pee on the same spot over and over again if it smells like pee. So that two combination of using the Cat Attract, the Dr. Elsie's Cat Attract clay litter, and then also making sure you use the enzymatic cleaner. Now, if he is still peeing outside, and the other thing you could try is different types of litter boxes, and maybe you need a bigger litter box. Depending how big he is, he just might need a larger size one. And if all that still doesn't work, what I would do is I would get a urinalysis just to make sure he doesn't have crystals or something else that's causing pain. And by the way, let me just share how I do that. So the easiest way I find, friendly cat or unsocialized cat, if I need to get a pee sample, I use something called Nosorb, Nosorb. It's a bit pricey. They sometimes sell them on Amazon in like these little containers, and I've seen it sold as a pack of 6 of these. It's unrealistic to only use one. I honestly use at least like 3 or 4 of these containers, if not all 6. But you'll have to wash and completely like soap and water wash and sanitize the litter box, dry it out. Instead of litter, you put the Nosorb. We hope the cat will pee on the Nosorb. And when the cat pees on the Nosorb, you have to grab it before the cat poops in there too. So you have to keep checking it often. Then I tilt the litter pan right so all the pee pools to the corner because it's not a lot of litter. I take a clean syringe and I syringe them out into a sterile container, and I bring that in for the urinalysis. The urinalysis, there's 2 kinds. There's the basic kind, and then there's also the culture. I'll usually just shell out the cash and do both if I can afford it, because the culture sometimes catches something that the quickie one doesn't. So the culture takes 2 weeks to get the results. The quickie one, I think you get the results in like 1 to 2 days. And that could find crystals or maybe some other bacteria or something else that's causing an issue. Another thing, by the way, I don't think he's taking antibiotics, but I want to throw it out there. I've also seen a lot of cats that while they're on antibiotics, for some reason, it's a bit painful to use the litter box to pee or poop. And that's when I'll see also mistakes happen. And then once the antibiotics are done, it stops.